That's how I got to be a DJ, from remembering rubbish. So when people say he's a culture vulture, you can't really refute that. They don't care about rap, they care about records or people that they didn't care about before, only because it can make them money. Wow, look at them. Yeah, boy! But this is where everything changed for me from a DJ point of view. I came in the door, I said it before,
I
never let the mic magnetize me no more. It's biting me to rhyme. Oh my God. And then he did the moonwalk. People lost their minds. Mob Deep, I remember taking up the tape, I was like, cool. They left and I threw the tape in the dustbin. I didn't even bother, I couldn't even be asked. Next thing, yeah, pop, 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 and now he goes, run! Yeah, but it pays my mortgage. And you, what do you do?
On today's DocuChat, my guest is one of the most important figures in early day hip hop in the UK, part of a duo supporting artists via their radio shows. He was a member of one of the most recognized and respected sound systems, worked behind the scenes within the record label infrastructure, and in more recent times, setting up a business that could help many of us progress into the future. But before we begin, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. And now, let me introduce you to my guest, someone who championed many of us and gave us hope, Kiss FM radio DJ, among so much more, the one and only Dave VJ. What's going on, bro?
Hey.
You good?
Listen, we've spoken so many times about doing this and now we're doing it.
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously the problem was that you're on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
You know, so we were limited to what we could do, you know?
Hard to get me out of that sunshine.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. The thing is, I've never actually seen you in an interview where you've been able to break down everything that you've done. So I felt like I really wanted to get you in there and talk about all these things, because if I'm being honest, I always saw you as one of the few people that was championing us.
Okay.
And you gave me plenty of opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in the studio when certain people were calling the studio and you were giving them opportunities. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was live on air and everything, in the other room, phones are going off. Yeah. So I know you were supporting a lot of people. Yeah. Obviously, we're going to talk about all of that. Yeah. But what do we know about Dave, the person, rather than the radio DJ, to begin with?
Before I got into music, of course, so I was born in Ladbroke Grove. I was a reggae person before disco, hip-hop, soul, all that stuff. And eventually I had a bunch of different jobs, but those jobs were always to buy records. That was my thing. Buy records, buy records, buy records. I have none. I mean, I think I might own 100 somewhere in storage. But the rest, I had about 40,000. I sold them all. I now have controllers, SP1s, turntables. That's what I've got. All that stuff. To me, records are for collectors, you know. Or if you've got the money, like a Spoonie or a Trevor, then you know. But you have to have a controlled situation where you have the room at a certain temperature, so the records don't warp, so you don't get termites, so that you don't lose the covers, because the covers are cardboard, which come from wood. And you know, I just didn't care enough. It was like, it's too much to look after. Once I saw one of my ceilings buckling, it was one thing, but when it was another one, I was like, nah, because I had them over 4 different rooms in my house, and then I had 4 outhouses in my garden that I kept them in as well. Wow. Yeah, it's too much looking after. And all those that were outside did end up warping. But I sold a lot of them to a record dealer. And to show you the kind of records I had, for instance, like, so Pete Rock and CL Smooth, I think their second album, when they started to fall apart. So Joe from the record label from Electra New York, they turned up late for the interview with me and Max at Holloway Road at Kiss. And she said, oh, I'm so sorry, is there anything I can do to appease the situation? I said, yeah, I want an instrumental test pressing of the album. And I got it. And then I sold it for God knows how much. I can't even remember how much, but a lot.
So yeah, I guess those are the advantages of being a DJ. You get pretty much advanced copies of things. You get exclusives that no one else on earth has got. The one-off instrumental album, like you said, whatever. And you get to meet so many people as well. Because I remember... my friend was working at the station, Ben. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not sure if you remember, but that's irrelevant. But he was like, I'm here as this young kid just working in the station. And you got people like Jay-Z and his entourage walking in.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time as well?
I think we've interviewed Jay-Z twice. So I remember Dame Dash. I don't remember if Biggs was there. But all I remember is Jay-Z's really tall. I'm 6'1" and he's about 6'6". LL's another one. He's really tall. LL is about 6'4". Snoop is about 6'8". Yeah, I cannot stress how much those times were great. But I was in it, so it wasn't great. It was just that was my life. I didn't see it as I. When I'm talking to you now, I was like, wow. But at the time, it's like, it's my job, you know. But for anybody who does this, it depends on your upbringing. For me, I had, and it's taken a long time to get rid of imposter syndrome because I come from a family where you got to get an ology in toilet paper rolling. You know what I mean? You must go to college, you must go to school, this, that, and the other. And eventually, I went to university as a mature student. So I have an MA in broadcasting, so it's a master's in broadcasting and digital editing. And the broadcasting part I already knew, but the digital editing I was terrible at because I didn't know how to use Adobe Audio, and now I do, and I'm very good at it to the point where I've actually re-edited songs. I mean, one of the songs that I re-edited was Chaka Khan's "I'm Every Woman," which is really short, and I made it so it's 8 minutes long, just from what I've learnt at uni. So I'm very good at it, and that's how I do my Soul show every single week. Sometimes because the sections that I have, depending on how advertising is going, they will tell you you have to, within your 3 hour show, you have to do certain things. So, for instance, like there's 6 17-minute sections, and sometimes it might be that there's 45 seconds short. So, what I have to do is I can't put another record on. I actually have to take a chunk off of the last record and then edit that on, but in the right place, and then fade it out, or go into the middle and extend it, right? Because a lot of the time I'm in the mix. It's only my last hour. I might play records separate. So yeah, but I love doing it. I hate getting to it, but once I'm in I'm lost in it, and I don't want to talk to anybody to get on with it.
I want to actually find out about the young you. What led you to the moment where you decided, like, I want to be a DJ and I want to be on radio. I want to be doing broadcasting.
That's all an accident. Never in a million years did I want to be a DJ. Now I did in kind of that thing of where singers would go in the mirror with a mic, and I used to be one of those people who'd be in the mic, like a Dave Lee Travis from my days, and in the mic in with the hairbrush and pretending to announce records on Radio One because Radio One was the pinnacle in those days. With the irony of that is that BBC then came and took so many of Kiss DJs, including Alex to come and run the whole
Alex Donnelly.
Alex Donnelly,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So they came and took Alex to come and be, I think, head of music, and then I'm trying to remember. There's quite a few people, but I didn't go to Radio One. I ended up going the Capital route through choice. But but to answer your question directly, there was no thing in my head I want to be a DJ. I saw my dad buy records, and to think so I started when I was about 6 buying records. My very first records were the Jackson 5 Greatest Hits and Bruce Ruffin's Mad About You, which is kind of a fake reggae record. And the reason why I say fake reggae is because so there's lots of people like UB40, but that's not my thing. UB40 it's not hardcore enough for me. I am a Sound Clash lover. I am a reggae fan up until about 2000. If I push it till maybe 2008, the reggae that comes out now, it's all right for you. If you like Mafado, Alkaline, and all that, good. They do the odd one or two records I like, but that's not for me. I like mine a bit more reggae and hardcore sounding as opposed to what comes out now, which is like, to me, it sounds like fake hip hop. That's what it sounds like. But I got the 2 records I got because I was given a record voucher. In those days, you could do that. So it wasn't online. You get a voucher and then you go to the shop, you exchange it for records. The record shop I wanted to go to, or did go to, they didn't do that. It was a black moms and pop shop. It's called Vasco. It was owned by Ray Vasco, who sang a record that in the black scene for my mum and dad. He was huge. He was like a star. He did a record called Growing Old, which couldn't stand, but they loved it. You go to one of their parties, it's gonna get a run. He ran a record shop. He did not take anything but cash. So I had to go to Spin-Offs, which was around the corner from me, and I asked, did they have blah, blah, blah? They said no, because I wanted certain reggae records that they was just never going to get, because the reggae records I wanted came straight from Jamaica. So anything Studio One, Channel One, Joe Gibbs, all that stuff. So the English parts of reggae in those days were like Green Sleeves, Fashion, Dub Vendor, Freedom Sounds, all those. Once again, that's why I became a DJ, because I can remember stupid stuff that doesn't mean anything to anybody until you're in a barber shop and they start talking about, as you know. So I got those 2 records. So Jackson 5, got the Bruce Ruffin, and I think that was my first record. So I was somewhere between 7 and 11. That's where it was. And eventually we moved when I was 13. So I started off in Ladbroke Grove. That's where I started. And eventually we moved when I was 13. It was a weird one, actually, because I remember I was away at summer camp because I was in the Army Cadets. And I was away. So we moved when I was away. When I came back, I just lived somewhere else. The good thing is my parents, I had proper parents, so they didn't just move and I came back and there was nobody there. I knew we were moving. And from there, I remember looking at my dad's record collection, looking at Junior Walker, Houston Pearson, Aretha Franklin, Ace Cannon, John Holt. I was trying to remember who did the Miracle Worker, Sydney somebody, I can't remember. Anyway, so my dad had a mixture of country and western, reggae, calypso. So if you're from them times, calypso would be Short Shirt, it would be Sparrow. And so he had a reasonable, he had about this.
What, 200?
Not even that.
Not even that, 100.
But what he did buy mainly was albums. He didn't buy too many singles. And then eventually, I started buying reggae records. I remember my very first proper reggae record was Penny Reel by Prince Jazzbo. And when I played it, my dad was like, why are you buying records with talking on it? Because obviously you don't understand the whole rhyming thing. And that was my thing, because I used to listen to Coxsone every Friday. And the irony of that is Coxsone used to play at the Metro in St. Luke's Road in Ladbroke Grove, where I lived at number 11 as a kid. Then I moved away. But I used to go back there to rave on a Friday night with my boys. We were called the Denzel Road Posse because I used to live in Denzel Road. And eventually I just got to that point where I just discovered Crackers because of my friend David Campbell, who just reunited with last year after God knows how many years.
Just for anybody who doesn't know, just Crackers was a club.
Yes, Crackers was the club. It wasn't just a club.
Yeah.
So if you are a proper hip-hop head and you're into Primo or you're into Last Professor, even down to Swizz Beats, if they sample, some of the records that you hear were played in that club. Yeah. So anyway, I discovered Crackers. David Campbell was the one who got me there. Didn't like it. I was like, oh, I'm not liking this at all. This soul music isn't for me. But it was that far back. It was a quid that would get you in, and you'd get sausage and chips as well. That's how far back it was, right? And what changed my mind, because first of all, being a reggae boy, soul boys are soft. You know what I mean? They ain't saying that. But there was an argument in the queue. So the soul boy bumped into the reggae boy. And in those days, you're wearing Cecil G tops, your slacks, you're wearing ballet shoes, So easily you could be wearing minimum of £500 worth of gear.
Back then,
yeah.
So
Which
about
by
50
now,
grand now.
but yeah. So the soul boy bumped into the reggae boy, and there was an argument, and of course the reggae boy gave it large, but the soul boy battered him, and I was like, I've got it wrong. I've got a thought in my head, that saying of it's not where you're from, it's where you're at. That's what changed my mind. So I was going to Metro all the time, and I just had my fill of having fights every week, because South, North, it doesn't matter what year youths always do the same damn thing.
Over and over. That's what's going on now.
So they use them now when they're looking at, boy, your dad or granddad, you don't know. Yes, I do know. Man, the difference was gangsters had respect and honor integrity in those days. So they're not coming for you, right? They're coming for whoever they're after. And we're not coming after your mum. We're not going to spray the side of the road with whoever's there. It's like, when we see you, let's have it. And that was what was going on then. And I remember the last time I was at Metro. Some guy looked around the door of, like, we was in an area pretty much like this, and people just chilling out. This guy looks over at me. Don't know him. Don't know where he comes from. He's like, "What are you looking at?" I was like, "But you wouldn't know I was looking at you if he wasn't looking at me." So he comes for me, but he doesn't know that my crew are behind him. But I was like, "I'm done with this. I'm done." But one of the guys, I'm not going to say his name, one of our crew was a bit of a bad man. He's like, "Let's go outside." And he put one hand behind his back and said, "Every one of you come for me one by one and let's deal with this." They never did. And I was like, "I don't care how we're going to end up. I'm done with this, because all I'm looking is gal and drink." Okay? So I'm done with it. So I started to go to Crackers. And the first time I understood, I actually didn't even understand, I had a thought about mixing. So there's a record called Mysteries of the World by MFSB. And it's quite a long record, maybe 5 minutes. I mean, these days records are less than 3 minutes, right? So yeah, if you think of it, actually most records these days are only 2 minutes and change. So the record's playing, and just before the end, it breaks down. And so if you're a dancer, it kills your flow. But what George Powers used to do, the DJ, and Paul Anderson used to play there as well, R.I.P. to my boy. He used to put another copy on and then just play it straight away when it got to that breakdown. I was like, but why can't he make it seamless? Now, I didn't understand mixing. I just know I wanted to hear it without any jerking. Little bit, maybe a couple of years after that, my nan dies, and she was living in New Jersey, East Orange. So East Orange in New Jersey in the States. So Dad says to me, "Gonna bury Granny. Do you want to come to the States?" And I'm just about working then. And he says, "I'll pay for it." Oh, hell yeah. Because I know, listen, I hadn't seen my granny for years, so the emotional connection was a lot less. I wanted to go because I wanted to buy records, right? You are getting some game here, because some stuff is coming into my head that you're about to find out. Because I've always told everything like this, but nothing like this. So it's about to come up, so you'll get the transition. So we get there to the States, and at that point, I had a Walkman, right? So I get off the plane, and I find Kiss, right? Kiss FM, because we'd all been getting tapes from Kiss FM at that point. You know, it's like getting mixtapes of Kid Capri or whoever, or Ron G or whatever. So I put on Kiss, and my first record is a disco soul record by Ramona Brooks called "I Don't Want You Back." Like, yeah, man, I've arrived. I'm the holy grail of music for me, because at that point now I've gone from reggae into this kind of soul world. But I'm still going to reggae clubs when I was in London every now and again. Anyway, we get to my aunt's, so that's my dad's sister. She's very religious, and I'm in her room, and great gospel records, but I want to hear Kiss. So every time I left the room, she would switch it back, because I switched it to Kiss. She'd go in her room to get whatever she wanted to get, because I was staying in her room, and she would switch it back. I switched it back, and one night I'm in bed, and I hear these records playing, and they are playing continuously and fading in and out. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know what they're doing, but I want to learn how to do that.
How old were you when that happened?
18, 19, something like that. And the person who was DJing was Chet Pettibone. Right, so Chet Pettibone, if you are a collector, however old you are, if you're a collector of vinyl, then you'll know that Chet Pettibone did the master mixes for, oh God, I forgot the name of the label now. I can see it in my head. But anyway, so he did these mixes, and a lot of them, they were master mixes accompanied by the logo for Kiss FM. So they put it out, and it was like, oh my God, this is just unbelievable. So what I was hearing, they'd put them out. And, oh, it's Prelude Records. That was it, Prelude Records. So I get back home, and I'll join the stories up properly in a second, but I had got to join Mastermind, And what I'd heard on the radio, I tried to emulate with, because I didn't even have turntables. So we had Garrett. We didn't even have ones where you could change the speed. So got the 2 records. I can't remember what they were, but I'd heard somebody do a mix. Now, to get 2 records to actually fit that start from beginning to end and come up and down in key is almost a miracle. So one of the records was the Quick on a Journey, and I can't remember who the other one was. Oh, Passion. It's called Passion, and it was also on Prelude. It was 2 instruments it was on a Journey, electro funk, and both records fitted together. I can't remember who did the mix, and I tried to copy that. Of course, I couldn't do it because I didn't know what I was doing. But what I did do, what nobody else knew, on that day we was doing a beach and sportswear party in Euston at this hotel, and so I'm on playing, and I'll come back to how I joined Mastermind in a bit. And what I did was I just let one play, and I put the other one on. And when I heard them join in my head, I just switched from one to the other, and everybody went nuts. I was like, I ain't done nothing. At that point, nobody had ever done it. I think Froggy was doing it, but I didn't know anything about him at the time. So I was like, all right, you know. And the person who actually taught us how to slip cue, which is holding the record and letting it go wherever you want. Because remember, now you can just press a button, right, to cue the record so it starts where you want it to. But at that point, you had to do it by hand. You hold the record, flick it so it didn't slur. And that was Max. We took the rubber mat off of the deck, put grease paper, then a slip mat on top of that. So now you've got flick traction as opposed to it's just going to stop. Yeah, and he put it on and he went, look, try it. And he went like, and I was like, like you're trying to get a kid to get into water. I was like, go on. So I did it. And he goes, do that again. I was like, oh, God, no. Because I don't like getting things wrong, even to this day, which is why I don't do certain things. I have to still run towards the fire, even if that's how I operate now. So I just did it. I did it again. And then I realised, oh, no, I can do this with any record. And that was it. And we thought we discovered water via Max. But we go off to New Music Seminar, and every person's doing exactly what we thought we just discovered.
Can I just go back to that grease paper thing? Because we used to do that. And I never know where I learned it from. It was a DJ that obviously told me. Do you know who kind of came up with that?
Max just came up with it. But
well, just on the spot.
I don't know. He was already doing it when we walked in the room.
Right, so do you think he got it from someone else, or it was just...
Highly unlikely. We were self-taught. Max was just a person, he just inventive enough to try it.
Right.
If you ever talk to him, he might be able to tell you. But I don't know. What I do know is that from we got to that, it was like we were off to the races. And the next move there was moving along. We ended up going to the States to New Music Seminar, got absolutely wiped out by Farley Jack Master Funk, who was a member of the Hot Mix 5, and his crew weren't even there. There was 4 of us on 8 turntables and him one, and he murdered us. But we didn't understand what was going on. You see, when we first started to hear that stuff on tape, and that was via Paul Oakenfeld, once again, stories, they intertwine. But Paul said, oh, WizKid's coming over, he needs somewhere to practice. So he comes to Herbie's house, and I'm expecting to see 8 turntables. No, it's 2 turntables.
So this is all Mastermind you're talking now? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So he gets his records out, lines them up in the way he wants to play them. I mean, literally puts his headphones on, and the WizKid just goes at it. And I'm thinking, oh, they're going to have to get me an ambulance because I can't believe what I'm seeing. Because at that point, he was only the second person I ever saw do that. The first person I saw was Davey DMX with Curtis Blow at Dingwalls in Camden. And at that point, I was like, this cannot be real. Davey DMX hasn't made a mistake. And then he did. And then he caught the beat. I was like, oh my God, it's real. Because I thought he was playing a cassette and he was just miming to it. But he wasn't. It flicked, caught the beat, just wound it back. But see what, in those days, you used your own records because you knew where it skipped and you knew how far to turn it back or whatever. Because 1 revolution is 4, 2 revolutions is 8, and so on. If you're doing on 33, it was even worse if you're doing at 45, because then you have to go like this, to get it back. But some people still do it. But I mean, it's only for, you don't have to. So let me give you how I got into Mastermind. So I worked for Lightning Records, which was a distributor. So I'd worked there previously. I left, went to work for Airwaves Records because I'd been going out with a girl whose name I'm not going to say because I've just realised I do remember her name, but it's a St. Lucian girl. Always me and there's things that marry me to girls, like I guess from a going out point of view, and that's good cooks and good looks. Right. So so and Madame from St. Lucian girls can cook, at least because I'm into Caribbean food, you know.
But did
So,
she look good though?
oh hell yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
she
All
did,
right.
she did.
Just making sure.
So I lived with her above Haringey train station, like literally right next to it. So I would jump on the bus. I can't remember what number bus it was because that's not my area because I come from north and that part. So I come from northwest and that is like Tottenham way, you know, Stamford Hill and all that. So I used to take the bus down and I worked at Airwaves Records, which is owned by Patrick Khan. So Patrick was the person who put out Janet K Silly Games. So I worked for Patrick for a little while, but I realised my life expectancy, if I stay working for him, isn't going to last long because people are always looking for Patrick for money. And one day somebody came and was harassing me, and Patrick came back and threw him through the window at work. Yeah, time to
How
leave.
many stories high?
No, it was just ground floor. Dashed their brother through the window. I was like, okay, it's one thing to watch gangster things on television, but I'm not trying to be in this. So I went. So I'd left Lightning, went to Arawak, and I went back to Lightning. But this time, this was the weird thing. I went to interview for the job. I lied. When I first started there, I lied. I'm not even going to go into it because it's boring. But you can't get away with that now because you've got social media. But I lied saying I had all these GCSEs, this and that. I didn't have nothing. At school, I had one qualification, that was English, and I got a grade 3. That's it.
Before you carry on with that story, you told me a story recently about how you weren't allowed to continue with sixth form.
Yeah, I couldn't. I thought I could stay at school because I wasn't even sure what I was going to do. And Mr. Watts, who was the year head, said, "You're not staying." He didn't tell me why. He just said, "You're not staying," and that's it. You're gonna have to leave.
But do you think that happening gave you kind of limited options, and then you thought, screw this, I'm gonna do the music thing?
No, no.
Okay.
Music was never a thought in my head. I didn't realize I had that penchant, that memory, or whatever. If you talk to Norman, Rodders, Jazzy, Trevor, we've all got that same thing. Femi Fem. It's that love, and we just had random information that we sat around as DJs exchanging stuff. You know, do you like the third beat of the second bar? It doesn't mean nothing to anybody else.
Technical, yeah.
It's like if you're talking about Rakim, right? Remember, Rakim changed everything, not just one thing, everything about the way people rapped, because it was, and all of a sudden now he's rhyming conversationally. That changed everything. You know, if you look at DMC from Run DMC, he said we knew we were over when he heard Rakim. Yeah. Anyway, going back to this whole thing of did I know? No, I did not know. So let's take it back to the joining of how did I get from a non-musical situation all the way up until now. So I worked at Lightning and I got the job as a 12-inch buyer. But the extreme thing was I remember Vaughan, who gave me the job, he was interviewing me and we were standing right next to the guy whose job I was about to take. And it was just the weirdest thing. But I knew more than this guy. I had a record collection of maybe at that point a couple of hundred. But what I did was a racking system at home. In fact, it wasn't even a racking system. So like if this is my room, in the middle I used to have all the records, and it was A to Z. So I just took that same thing and amplified that mentally. But then I got a book, and I did that in Lightning Records. So A was at the top left, and Z was at the bottom right. So it was probably about maybe 8,000 records or something like that I had to look after. And then at the back, you got stock, and it taught me the power.
Organizational skills.
Yeah, but it also taught me the power of my memory. Like, so Christmas, so two of my brothers worked there as well. Learned to do the till. right? And the money was crazy at Christmas. So I remember Michael Jackson's Thriller album, right? And it was something like CBS 85930, whatever, there was a number. And so when you saw somebody coming towards you who was always buying big orders or they were shipping them, so I looked at him, you could see the top. I've already done it before they've got to the desk. You know, Barbra Streisand, whatever it was. I knew all of the information, typed it in. I knew there was 25 in a box or 15 in a box, already added it up. And it was just the little bits you add them on. Get them out of there because Christmas come, you're talking about, you've probably got about 200 people. You're working overnight, Christmas Eve, because these people are now going to get ready for Boxing Day and they're just going at it. But I absolutely, when I think back, I loved it. Just the fact that I knew, as soon as you showed me the record, I knew what the catalogue number was, which was, yeah, complete waste of time to anybody else, but good for the job because I'm on the till. If somebody was new, I knew that I could do at least 3 customers before that person had even started because they've got to get it, look at the spine, and I'm just going, click, off you go. You know what I mean? So I did that. I've stayed there for maybe a couple of years. And I said to them, listen, I want to go DJ. Can I go part-time? They said no. So I put my friend in there. I gave him my job. And eventually they let him do part-time, which was really annoying. So how I got into Mastermind was Herbie lived literally around the corner from where I worked.
Can you just name all the members of Mastermind so we have that?
Okay, so when I was there, because there's two different sets. So Mastermind, before I knew them, they were a reggae sound called Conqueror. Not quite sure how they worked out who went where.
And that was in the 70s.
I don't know. I joined in the 80s.
Was it early 80s, 82, 83, something?
Sort of, yeah, probably early 80s, and then yeah, it's got to be. It's got to
So
be.
it's got to be 70s for them as Conqueror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I joined Mastermind. I left. I went to Guernsey to work or DJ agency. Came back and I joined Kiss. But where Mastermind was concerned, so they split. Conqueror was over here. The Mastermind that I knew when I got there was you had the 4 older and the 4 younger. So it was Herbie, Leroy, Danny. So Herbie was the head guy. Danny was the tech. Leroy was the mic man, and Morris was a dancer. Right, but Morris was still to this day. In fact, I saw him at Carnival a couple of weeks ago. He was into karate, like big time, big time, which saved me from getting a battering a couple of times. So, if you remind me, I'm saying one of the local gangsters who was nearly beat the out of me, but he didn't because Morris stepped in. So the younger ones were me, Max, Casey, and Bert. How I got in there was they had quite a few gigs. They had more than one setup. So somebody would be this part of London, the other parts would be this. I didn't know anything about mixing, really miking, nothing. You just knew somebody hired you. I knew the records. I knew what records to play, and that's how we ended up doing what we was doing. Eventually, one Friday, I think it was a Friday, but you got to talk to Casey because Casey's the memory man. Anything that I'm missing out here, I can guarantee you he knows. Anyway, so we get to that point where we are doing really well. We're ghetto superstars, but no money. And all of a sudden, I get told that, look, we're really upset with you because you're using our name to get into clubs and this and the other. I'm like, are you really serious about this? And at that point, we're still doing the street sound stuff as well.
What were you doing the street sounds?
So that was the mixing, so the electro albums. What went on was we're being told we're stifling you because we don't like the way you're moving. I'm like, at that point, I'm working at Lightning. My words, I can't remember exactly. I'm sure Casey will tell you, but what I can remember is my words were, I could do better without you, and I'm out. And I bailed.
So was that just you, or was it the
No,
4 youngers?
me, Max, and I think Casey. Once again, I can't remember, and I can't remember exactly what I said, but that's definitely part of the situation. Anyway,
Okay, so a bit of an argument opened up the doorways to Kiss.
yeah, because all we was getting was Kentucky and chips. Because a sound system that big, you're just not going to make money. You know, my joy was I was the person who bought the records, so I could go to the record shop. I used to go to Bluebird, and sometimes to All Ears. All Ears is in Harlesden, which was Atmosphere's home. Andy Soiker, Jerry Pike, who is the home of that record Dancing Out. It's based at Level 42 because they've signed them there. and a couple of people, including Lindsay Wesker's wife, Dazzle, right? Paulette was signed to them as well. Anyway, I was like, yeah, I'm not having somebody treat me like this. So off we went. So me and Max used to drive everywhere. I had no car. And we went to Kisses that night. So we left on the Friday. On the Sunday, we've gone to Kisses as we always do. We're there, and Gordon says, I'm starting a new station.
This is Gordon Mack.
Yeah, sorry. Gordon Mack, who started Kiss. He says, starting a new station. You guys want to be on it? I was like, well, why not in masterminding? Because I don't care. I only see you two. I know you two. Do you want to do it? I was like, yeah, sure. But he didn't say, if I remember right, he didn't say he's starting Kiss. I think I was walking away and I said to him, what's the name of the station you're starting? And he kind of went, Kiss, like that. Like it as an afterthought. So, okay. What we didn't know was that he had already started. It's just like myself. When I had gone to him about starting another station, when I sat him down, I took him to lunch. He said to me, well, I'm starting a new station. He didn't tell me it was called, but I took him to a Spanish place around the corner from another station that we were both working at. And he said, I'm starting this station, and little did I know it was My Soul. He's always thinking ahead like that. You know, he's about technology.
How long has My Soul been going?
I reckon maybe 12 years or something like that. But we moved to the whole DAB thing. Maybe we've done 8-10 years, something like that.
So Kiss was 1985. That was as a pirate.
I think so. Yeah, we did about 2 years.
From my recollection, I think it was September 1990 that the license got given.
Well, we came on air then, but it was given before that. But
okay, that's when it was made public. So.
Yeah, it was a hard slog because a couple of things that you don't know. First of all, we'd already tried and been turned down. Because I remember Gordon phoning in the days when you had phones, and my mum said, "Oh, Gordon's on the phone for you." He said, "We didn't make it."
When you say you had phones, everyone's got phones now. We're talking house phones.
House phone, right? A phone with hard wire in your yard, right? So the next time around, which might have been maybe about 12 months, 18 months later, and Gordon phoned to say we've got it. What he did say as well was, look, we're going for a license again. If you stay, I'll make sure you get a show. Because at that point, Kiss was so big as a pirate station, everybody wanted us, whoever was on there. You know, it was like just the fact that you're on Kiss, you have got, you know, literally a walking card to anywhere you want. But Kiss was, to me, it was groundbreaking from a cultural point of view. Well, it was a reflection of society as we know it in the UK. And it was always going to come because we got that big. Remember, the government, what they're going to do is they can't stop it, so you control it, so you give them a license.
You need to explain that because I don't think people understand the depth of that.
Well, listen, you can keep making money illegally, or I want some of that. So let's give them a license, make them feel that we're doing them a favour. But the powers that be that gave Gordon Stroke us the money were up there, and they don't care about you. They care about the money that they can make. It's the same with rap. They don't care about rap. They care about records or people that they didn't care about before, only because it can make them money. That's all it is. You know, culturally, rap isn't, or hip hop isn't black or white. Culturally, rap is a phenomena that nobody, including us, definitely me, didn't know it was going to go this far. What I knew was this was my life. My life came into being because of rap music. Don't get me wrong, I was already doing all of that, but let's take it back so you can get some context. So the reason why Mastermind started to flop, whatever you want to call it, is because we discovered hip hop DJing and we stopped doing what Rap Attack or Rampage did, which was attract women, because we was too far up our own whatever, our own wazoo, because we were just into the DJ techniques. But I was never a hip hop fan. That's the first thing. When I first started, I wasn't into hip hop. And the reason being is because I'd been to the States, and when you watch, you know, like all the big labels, so you'd see Rammelsy and KZ, but they're on the bus with me. You get on the what they call a dollar van, right? And they're on the bus with me, but you know, I've got a gold chain and you ain't got jack squat, bro. You're on the bus with me, you know? So it put me off. And also, coming from a reggae background, reggae had more style but no content. There was no storytelling. Whereas rap had storytelling but no style. That's how I saw it anyway. And then one day, in fact, no, I'm going far ahead. I'll come back to the Rakim story. But so, as far as trying to get everything to make sense for everybody that's listening, so I'm going like this with some kind of lineage so you know where I'm going. So, Paul Oakenfold lived in Boston, right? He came back to the UK and he was looking for somebody who did hip hop. And we were at the top of the tree. He reached out to us. He had a record pool, which was record pools were that thing where people gave records, and then you'd pay a fee, and you'd get whatever you get in the box of records. But Paul, because of who we were, we didn't pay for them. He just gave us a whole load of records, and so we then learned about things like Thompson Twins and all this kind of thing. So because it was whatever was available, and that's when Paul said, "Oh, Alistair, aka WizKid, is coming over. We want something to practice." You know, we found all these people. We found. I mean, hung out with Houdini, Mike Tyson, Fat Five Freddy, and Fat Five Freddy. I'm still friends to up to this day. Like I have his number is in my phone, so I can call him. Yeah, he's one of the only people. Probably him and Chris Kerris, one of the only people. Kerris one doesn't have a phone. Very hard to get hold of. You literally have to call 9 people to. Maybe you might get him. You know. So anyway, Paul said, "Look, new music seminars coming up. You guys should do it." So we practiced like crazy, but it didn't work out for us. But what happened was it was a different level of clubbing. So we got to go to the Roxy. We went to, I forgot the name of the club where Larry Levan used to play. So I've actually stood in the booth with Larry Levan, right?
Can we just explain to people what Roxy is and who Larry is?
Okay, so Roxy is a place run by Lady Blue. It was a skating rink, and I think it might have been a Friday or Saturday, it turned into a hip hop club.
It was the venue that was also in Beat Street, right?
Right. So the DJ booth was like this in the middle. Africa Islam was the DJ in the middle, and everybody stood around. At that point, because Paul knew everybody, the night that we went, it was me, Max, Bert, Herbie, Madonna, Houdini, Bambata, Flash, and his crew were literally hanging out. And I remember all these boys running behind Madonna and her complaining to Bam that they won't leave her alone. It was like, yeah, because your dress is a belt. You know what I mean? That's why. Yeah, I mean, it's like, come on, girl. You know what I mean? I know it's not right, but that is the reason, you know? So, yeah, we did that. We saw Trouble Funk at the Ritzy. So then we also went to probably one of my fondest memories was the Funhouse where Jellybean was the DJ, right? But that was just incredible because when you DJ, you usually have a monitor, right? And you have the monitor next to you. So I'm left-sided, so it's usually on my left side. And you do the mix, and then you can hear everything in the monitor. What Jellybean had was a massive room like this. And he was quite short, and his records, he had, I swear to God, the records must have been about almost 6 foot high, the 12 inches. I thought at some point they're going to drop, but I was like, well, they've been there a while because they haven't fallen over. But the most fascinating thing was that was a sound booth where he did the mix and then he flicked and it went out to the crowd. Like he flicked a button, he went out to the crowd like that. And I watched them through the Funhouse was like the DJ booth. The front part was a clown's mouth. And so if you see it online, you'll see it's a clown thing, right? But the clown, and you watch the B-boys and the B-girls in the front there, it was just something else. And so it's very Spanish, so it's very Hispanic. So it would be freestyle along with whatever hip-hop records were going on. And it was just like, wow, let's go back to Africa Islam. So, oh God, wow, story. So I'm about to leave London to go to perform in the competition. And this record comes in, and I'm like, this record is going to change everything. So I say to Graham, RIP, he's just passed away. Graham Lambden was the export boss, but he was also my boss in terms of me ordering, and he let me do whatever I want because I was the clubber and I was the DJ. So this is while at Lightning Records, and he says to me, what are you going to do before you leave? So I said, I need to order 10,000 of this record. He's like, right, if these records are here when you come back, you are fired. Don't worry about that. Inside I'm going, it was Herbie Hancock Rocket. You know? Yeah. Because I heard it, I was like, this record's out of here.
Gone.
So
If you were young when that record came out, you'd understand why.
Yeah.
That
So
record changed everything for real.
It's a bit like somebody dropping a Little Wayne record or Kendrick Lamar record now. So, but it was an instrumental, but it had scratching on it, which was one of the first ones. So it had DST on it. So I ordered the record. We got 10,000. Off I go to New York to take part in the DJ competition. Then we start going out, and when we walk into the Roxy, this remember now we've only just discovered it in London. Africa Islam, as we walked in, he's finished cutting the record up, takes it off of the no, sorry. He goes, this is the last time I'm playing this record, I'm fed up of this. Plays it, then takes it and throws it into the crowd. But that's Rocket. Remember, I've only just discovered it. And he's thrown it into the crowd. But this is where everything changed for me from a DJ point of view. His next record was David Bowie, Let's Dance. All right? So I always thought, what I want to do is, I want the DJ techniques, but I don't want to play hip-hop records. I want to play with anything. He took 2 copies of David Bowie, Let's Dance, and cut the hell out of it. I was like, right, he's just validated what I want to do. So I was cutting things like the 12-inch version, the American 12-inch version of Tears for Fears Shout had a different break, and that was me. That was more me. I liked that. Or Bryan Adams, I Need Somebody. Just the beginning of that, it was like, I realised I can take any record I want and turn it into a break, as long as I'm quick enough to get back to the part that is the break. So that's what changed everything for me from a DJ point of view. Fast forward, hold on, I'm trying to think. So Larry Levan, by the way, is Paradise Garage. That was the name of the club, right? And we went up into the DJ booth. Larry Levan wasn't really much of a DJ, in my opinion. What he was he was influential. We went to the club, and what I didn't realise, it was a gay club. So it's gay men, gay women. And at that point, Mary Jane Girls All Night Long was one of the biggest records. So, of course, girls are dressing like that. And me and Max are there, boy, look at them. God, boy. And then we, they didn't serve alcohol. It was all fruit juice and apples and fruit and all that. So we see these girls, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to chat to this girl. Just about getting brave enough. Then I realised, hold on, these girls are with girls. What's going on here? And then you realise you got no chance. And of course, these are big women who are in their 20s, and I was about 90. So you got no skills. You got no chance. And I realised later on why I had no chance, because I had a messed up haircut.
So has that improved now in your life?
Let me be very clear right now. As an older gentleman, what I do is I choose first with my eyes, and then the rest of the situations in the interview. I do not go out with women without having that interview, right? Because what I always did was I chose with my eyes and then trying to make the person fit into what I want. Now it's, does that person fit what I want? And if not, I don't waste my time or their time. That's maturity.
You're not supposed to change people. You
No,
accept people for
but
it.
yeah, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
Because you look like the queen I want. So yeah. By the way, just change the left shoe to this and the right shoe to this. No, just keep it moving and let me do my thing. You do your thing. Cool. So Larry Levan, we watched him DJ, and he's just influential because what record was it? I think I wasn't there at the time, but his influence was so big that he played Tanya Gardner Heartbeat. No, but he believed in the record so much. What he did was he would play a record, and if nobody danced, he'd keep playing it until you danced. So he'd play a record for an hour, and you either leave the club or you're going to dance. Yeah, you play the record until you danced. The only person I've ever seen do that was, let me think now. There was somebody else I seen do that in the UK. I'm trying to remember who it was. Once again, that will come back to me. Anyway, I just, he was just a fascinating character. He didn't even speak to us. It was kind of like, hello, and that was it. Musically, it was like my life was just hip hop, and I forsake everything else. It's this, and if you're not a hip hop head, you're nobody. That's how I was. And then once I started to see people sample things or interpolations of things, I was like, but my dad's got this record, or so and so's got this record. I know this. By the way, the person that I remembered that played a record to people dance was DJ Swing, and it was OPP.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, OPP.
Wow.
He played it until people danced. But it's one of those. He was one of the only people, maybe Psycho as well. So R.I.P. to both of them. Yeah. They just had that thing. So the next intonation of my life, and there's so much of it, but let's move it on and cut to Bentley's. So Bentley's was a club on a Sunday night where me and Max decided one night, we went there every single Sunday. Derek B was the DJ, and we decided not to go. The next day, front page of Evening Standard, they had raided it, and we didn't go that night. So we were lucky.
Well, it was like the one night you didn't go.
Yeah. But what happened? We went every Sunday, but you had to have your man look for you to make sure you didn't get robbed while he was taking a leak. It was that bad, you know. So we get there, and this part of the night is always Derek plays the new stuff just to test it out a little bit. And me and Max are standing there, and he puts on this record. It's the beat from Funky President, slightly messed up a little bit, but it's the beat from Funky President. And then I hear the clap your hands to what he's doing. Yeah, the boot. So the beat keep going. I was like, okay, well, this is all right. Let's see if it goes wrong, because the first thing I'm looking for is for it to go wrong. Then I hear the bass line from over like a fat rap, but it's replayed. I don't realize it's replayed. I'm thinking they put the two of them together and slowed it down, but it's in key. So, but there's drums, so it can't be out of key, but it doesn't sound slowed down. All right, cool. I'm like, okay, yeah, I like this because it's got that slow flow thing, which is maybe it might marry what I'm thinking in my head, but nowhere near did I ever think it was going to be what it turned out to be. Because the first words were, I came in the door, I said it before, I never let the mic magnetize me no more. It's fighting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for the line, taking off my coat, clearing my throat. So yeah, so I'm like, wow. And I'm standing there thinking, once again, the same feeling that I got when I was watching those DJs. The first time ever a rapper has made me think, oh God, I think I need medical assistance here when I'm listening to this. And then I was like, but this is going to go wrong at some point.
But can I just say, it was impressive hearing a DJ rapping.
So I'm like, this is going to go wrong at some point. And it didn't. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is it. I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. I didn't know I wanted to be a DJ or a rapper or a graph artist.
So what? That was the point when you decided hip hop was
for me, yeah. But I didn't even know I was in hip hop. I was just like, this has changed my life, and I want whatever this is, I want in. And then it was just like, then the other side was Check Out My Melody, which was lyrically way above, that 21 MCs in a line.
He was like 30 years ahead.
Right. I'm like, wow, okay.
That was quite late. That was 86, 87.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, like, to then become like this radio DJ that was supporting all the hip hop stuff, like, you got yourself in a really good position pretty quick then.
Yeah, but we didn't know. We just did what we did. We didn't know we was growing up in it. Nothing. We just did.
So before that, no hip hop.
No, there was no hip hop as such. It was just records. But remember, anything can be hip hop. It's just for you to make it hip hop. As long as you're cutting it up as a DJ, it's a hip hop record. So that comes along, that changes, and then you've got Derek doing his thing.
Sorry, bro, I just realized something. I'm baffled.
What?
That comes along. So are you telling me you didn't know nothing about Run DMC and LL and all them before that?
Yeah, I did, but it wasn't the same. Let me tell you something, right? I really liked radio, but I liked the original version of was it I Need a Beat? No, it had a different version because it was like a go-go version, right? I liked LL, don't get me wrong, all of those were great, but they were a little bit on from Flash and Melly Mel and all them. So they were a little bit more complicated, a little bit more sophisticated, but it wasn't Rakim. Because remember, I told you I'm into reggae, and they have all style, no lyrics. Loved Run DMC, right? My favorite Run DMC record is probably Hit It Run, and also that were live at the Funhouse, right? So loved LL. I loved all that to the point where I used to buy records that I didn't even know whether they were good or not when they were on Def Jam. So, like the Junkyard Band, Word. I didn't know what it was. I just bought the record, got home, and then realised it's a go-go record. That works for me. It's all good. So all of that period, I mean, you're talking about probably 83 to 87. That's when I was learning. And by then, probably had a couple of thousand records. You know, once I became the buyer, you're talking about, and I worked in a record shop as well. And we were easily, I was coming home with a couple of hundred records every week.
Be honest. How many records did you nick from the record company you were working for?
Enough. Enough. I can tell you my scam now because this statutes of limitations are over.
All right, yeah, go on. 6 years, in it. Go for it.
So what happened was it used to be orders. So the record shop people would come, and I worked in a particular shop. I won't say the name of the shop, but I worked in a shop in Kilburn Road. So they needed certain things, and I wanted certain things, and the UK stuff wasn't worth as much as the imports. I wanted imports. We only did a few of them, and it was somebody else who ordered the imports. It wasn't me. So what we did was they would ask for whatever it was, and I would get them to order. We'd have industrial dustbins outside. So what you do is put them in a box, slide them underneath them, because there was no cameras at the back, even though they tried to make it there was, but there wasn't. Slide them underneath the bin, go back for them at night, take them to whoever it was. And if it's somebody you don't know, then you charge them. If it's somebody you do know, you just swap them for records. So that's how my record collection built up very quickly. Sharon Red, T.S. Monk, all that stuff. And then I was asked, they said, well, people are nicking records, but we just don't know who it is, right? So can you keep an eye out and we'll give you records for it? I was like, yeah, sure.
So you nick them and then get them free as well.
Yeah, so they were giving me, because the guy said to me, well, what do you want? I said, well, just give me a couple of records. So I literally was about volume, get as much as I can. By the time I got to Kiss, remember, you can afford, because they're paying you. You don't have to get them for free.
And you're getting a lot free as well. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can afford to buy them, but they just give them to you for free. But in those days, it was very different. So you get test pressing with a cappella, instrumental, and all that. And then you get the legal version, so the finished version, whatever the definitive version is, with maybe a radio a cappella. And so there's a whole load of different... Usually you end up with 4 different versions. And the version that becomes the record that you might see on Top of the Pops or Top 40 or whatever is so far from, because it's like somebody's telling you who lives in suburbia, I don't like this, so you need to make it like this. For me, who's 50 years of age, to accept it, it's like, bruh, you're never going to the dance where I go. You don't know nothing about where I'm going, but you're trying to tell me, And in fact, let me just cut in there. So one day at Kiss, to show you, like, take a stand. So Crisscross comes out with Jump, massive record. And then their next record was with Supercat, I forgot what it's called, right? But they wanted some support. Cool, they're coming to England. Because the record is so big, but they have to remember, we're the hip-hop heads. So us, Westwood, Numbers would have been playing the record, and whoever else. Maybe Chris, what's his name? I forgot his name. Chris. See his face, can't remember his name. It will come back to me. So anyway, so us four are all supporting these records. That's how hip-hop gets done in London, okay, through us, nobody else. Not because we're saying we're exclusive, but we're the ones who live that life. And I get a call saying, Chris Cross coming to the UK. It's like, brother, you got to come to our show. And I get a call saying, well, they haven't got enough time, so they're going to go to Radio 1 and that's the end of it. So I'm, okay, cool, not a problem. Next record comes out, and it's like, it's never going to get anywhere. I know that for a fact. At least not without our help.
You said without our help, as in just
me and Max. Kiss was the tastemaker. It might not be able to make a hit record, but if we're playing it at some point, it's going to go somewhere. Minimum, it's rolling off in the clubs. It's ringing off in the club. So I messaged whoever it was in, I think it was Karen Mason in Sony. I'm like, yeah, your peoples ain't coming through. We ain't playing the record. And at that point, I remember being in Lindsay Wesker's office, and he says, Karen wants to speak to you. I was like, Dave, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I know, but can you please? No. Yeah, you get them here or we. No. She said, but I can't. I've got to. Well, cool, that's all right. Listen, me and you, it's all love, but I'm playing the record.
Okay,
That's the end of it.
so you're saying the record ain't gonna go nowhere without your support?
No. What I'm saying, my intuition is I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But we ain't playing it.
Right.
That's the end of it.
So, say for example, Chris Cross comes into the country, but you ain't feeling the record. Are you still gonna get them on the show and play the record? You ain't feeling?
If we can do that, yeah. But they told us that they're too big for us. They've gone past rap. It was cool. Bye. That's it. But here's the problem with all that. Even to this day, right? Hip hop ain't about culture no more. It's a
Well,
it's
it is to some of us.
It's a popularity contest. I'm talking about the hip hop that sells now.
Yeah.
Right. You know, little this, that, and the other. It lasts 2 seconds, and then it's on to little, big, big, little, blah, 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 blah. You know, and a lot of them can't rap. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that because you're feeding your family. But how do you expect to move forward? I mean, I tell you what I do like, and I don't really know too much about them. I like country and western rap. It's got that because I was like, at some point somebody has to do that, and I've started hearing it, and they are damn good. They are really good. So that kind of flow, it really works with country and western because now you've got some melody and you've got some words. And country and western, if people go, I don't like country and western, let me tell you something. As a singer in country and western, if you can't sing, you're done because you can put a lot of you put any genre out there, right? And you can fix it with technology. You can't do that with country and western. If you can't sing, you're done. Okay, that's all there is to it. You know, even with gospel, which is probably one of the best plain vocal styles, they can still put effects on that because it's kind of akin to R&B, but not with country and western. And I love country and western because it's storytelling. It's a bit like rap music. It's storytelling, and it's melodic. A lot of that stuff, I never bothered. Right, it never bothered me after a while when people will say, well, that's not hip hop. It's like, well, who told you it's not hip hop? What I started to tell people was hip hop's what I say it is. I mean, if you ever get a chance to ask him, he'll probably say no. But I'm telling you now, one night, I was playing in a gig, it was me and Max, we were getting off, and I think my second to last record was Bobby Brown, My Prerogative. And Westwood, his exact words were, why are you playing this? I said, because it's a hip hop record, that's why. The next day on his Capital Radio show, he played it. Yeah. It's like, to me, he's a person that doesn't understand that we are here to support the culture. Isn't here to support you. You're here to support the culture. So when people say he's a culture vulture, you can't really refute that because there's lots of people who look like culture vultures because they don't give anything. They just take.
It's interesting that you mentioned his name, and I don't really want to go deep into all of that, but what we were seeing from the offset, from outsiders' point of view, was there was a little rivalry thing going on. And like what we were getting, and I can probably say this, like, because it happened to me, and I know other people, basically there were certain people going, if you don't give us the record first, we're not supporting.
Okay.
So there were, and that wasn't you, and that wasn't Numbers, but he supported.
Here was the thing with us, right? Do I like it or don't I like it? But don't bring the record 10 weeks later and expect me to play it if you've given it to Westwood or whatever. But the other part of that was remembering, understanding, if you come from a reggae background, right, and you've gone to a sound clash is the worst verbal this, that, and the other. And then everybody's all love and have a drink afterwards. That's not Westwood. Westwood is like, there can be there's no number 2, 3, 4, or 5. I'm number 1 and I'll cut your legs away. And now the reason, I'm going to say this now, I don't think I've ever said this in a public forum. So that same woman, in fact, I best not say her name. So let's say this. We were friends with Dice. More really, Dice is a friend of Max. Because Max is a weed smoker, I'm not. So we used to roll around with Russell, Dice, Houdini, etc. Years later, Dice becomes the road manager for Pete Rock and CL Smooth. So because Max is friends with Dice, Dice sends us the album, like their second album, on a cassette. So we got it like way before anybody. And what I found out years later was that Westwood told Elektra to not just have us stop playing it, or he's not going to support it. So I was like, well, okay, cool. I had the same thing. I mean, I'll tell you a story about, but it was my fault with the Fugees. So I didn't know that, but I think we got I think we had a conversation. I think we didn't even stop playing. We were like, don't play it for 1 week and then play it the following week. Because the problem that you've got is that the executives that are telling you, it's not their world. So they don't know and they don't care. So let's go into the Fugees. The Fugees, I was into the very first record that they did, Buff Bath, which was all right. It wasn't great. But I go into the New York office. Shout out to Taish, who I still talk to this day. In fact, I'm in still groups with her. So Taish Harris says, I've come in the office and I'm collecting records. At that point, it ain't hard to tell was the biggest thing on the planet. So I've walked in her office and I want to copy that. She's like, well, we haven't got any. I'm like, what? Okay. So anyway, I did get one by the time I got back to England. But while I'm in the office, the Fugees walk in. So I'm like, oh God, yeah, listen, I'm playing your record, Buff Bath. I'm like, really? In England? Because at this point, nobody knows who they are. So maybe about 4 months later, I didn't tell it. I made no reference to who we are or nothing. They was on a European tour, like just literally a European promo tour. Nobody even knew who they were, and they walked into it. Oh my God, it's you! So we became really cool. So I was cool with Clef. I wasn't cool with Lauren. In fact, I had an argument with her maybe the second time I spoke to her about fish and chips or something. I can't remember the full story. Some stupid thing, you know what I mean? Praz was like, yeah, whatever. I mean, in fact, if Praz hasn't changed his number, because Praz, I think, was the only one who had a mobile phone. Whoever has got my record collection and you look for Fuji's Nappy Heads, his phone number is still on that. Yeah. Yeah. When you pull out the thing, his phone number, that's what I wrote it on. So it was on that.
Wow. And you didn't erase it before you gave the records away?
I didn't remember.
Wow.
It's been, because you're talking about, like, people like that probably have had 10 phones by then, you know what I mean? So it probably doesn't even work.
They could just block people anyway.
So we stayed cool and we went to, was it we? Or was it, at that point, you know, by then it was more me. I was really, really like super, I was like this with Clef. So I go to the studio with them. They're recording in Camden in, I think it might be, God, I'm trying to remember whose studio it is. It might be Eric Clapton's studio. I can't remember. There's a place in Camden. We go in there. And they're now doing stuff for their next album, which nobody's heard. And I'm like, whoa, because now they've got so commercial, people don't really, they're not calling them hip hop anymore. I'm like, nah, you wait till you hear the next stuff. So he gave me a demo of 3 of the songs. But instead of me asking him, could I play it, I was more like, and now I think about it, it was just selfish. I'm like, you can't talk about my mate like that, so we're going to show you because we've got a platform. So I think we played 2 of the songs. And it was like the earth had just opened up and it was a different world. Now, nobody was taking that much notice of us because everything was Westwood because he's at the BBC. When I play these, I get a call from Sony saying, can you not play them? But not only that, Sony, there was an award ceremony coming up, and my girlfriend at the time worked for Sony in overseas, whatever it was. So I think she'd heard the stuff. There was something called Comic Con or something like, I don't know.
Yeah, Comic Con, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in Germany or something like whatever it was. Whatever.
No, Popcom.
Popcom, right?
Yeah,
Popcom.
Yeah.
So she's phoned me up and gone, can you play the songs that you've got from Clef down the phone to my boss? I'm thinking, why do you want to do that? Because now, to me, I think he's just showing off. So I did it anyway, right? Because I guess she wants to go and talk about these new tracks. But the girl who said, can I do that? I'd go into her office and she's got tapes of just everything that you can think of, right? And she wouldn't let me have them. It's like, so if you give me those things, she's going to get in trouble, but I've got to do this. So I did it anyway. And she stopped talking to me. I got a feeling it's because I wrote in my book about this, but it was her fault. She added to the situation with Clef. So she was working at the MTV Awards, which was at Crystal Palace, and I went. I'm walking along, and I see Clef. He's like, Dave. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He goes, oh, I thought you was my friend. Oh yeah, you can DJ. Yeah. So the amount of trouble you put me in, and he went, Q or whatever, something like that, right? So then we were all right for a little bit. At that point, it was me, him, I think her, George Michael, a bunch of people. We were literally I can't remember what it was. He asked me something about his shoes, but that was the last kind of conversation we had because he's been to Antigua and I tried to talk to him and he didn't want to know, right? So, but I've been told that he holds grudges, so I'm like, cool. So because the person that was his road manager, Hassan, who I'm friends with to this day, said, pay him no mind because that's just the way he is, right? So here's a little bit game, people, right? Remember, I'm telling you this. The way to stay relevant, okay, is if you're a bass player, you can go from group to group. If you're a drummer, you can go from group to group. If you are a DJ, you can go from group to group. If you are a road manager, you can go from group to group. But if you are the main person and you ain't got no traction, that goes whatever, or when it's done, you're done. Right? So you might get in the background or whatever, unless you're Jay or Buster or whatever. So Hassan, I have stayed friends with for years, right? Hassan called me one day. I hadn't spoken to him for years. He called me one day and said, Dave, yeah, because his name came up on my phone. At this point, I'm working at Choice. He said, Dave, oh my God, I've been looking for you. Listen. Are you at the studio at work? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, can you interview Acorn for me? Of course I can. You know what I mean? He's like, interview. So so I was like, let me go to the boss, let me sort it out. We get Studio 2, incredible interview. I remember when Akon, because Akon was a bad man, and Akon, I remember the game he said is like, listen, the way to do things, do your dirt or buy your lonely, that way nobody can snitch on you and you can't blame nobody. Yeah, that was, yeah. but so Hassan, he looks after the locks now and A Boogie with the hoodie. So he's still gaming, he's still doing his thing. And I've just realised it's always better to just stay friends with the road manager. I still have DJ Dummy's phone number, and he works with Common. These are the people that it's always the road manager and the DJ. That's who I've become friends with. I'm not trying to be friends with the artists. Very few artists. There's probably two I can tell you now that I can have a conversation with. Chris, Psycharis One, and Buster. I remember the reality check that we got when we was interviewing somebody called O'Shea Jackson and somebody called Todd Smith. So I can't remember which way round it was, but let's just say O'Shea Jackson first, aka Ice Cube. We're sitting there in Kiss. I think Max was controlling the board because he was the technical one, and I was in the sound booth. So we're both talking, we've got headphones on, we're having a conversation. And then O'Shea's wife opens the door, yeah, I've had enough. Like right in the middle of the interview. She goes, yeah, I'm done. Okay. So up gets Ice Cube and he said, sorry guys, I've got to leave.
What, something that you done in the interview?
Yeah, so it was a pre-record.
Okay.
Right?
But is it something that you done or just
No. I'm tired. I've had enough.
Oh wow.
So okay, cool. So he's like, look, here's my phone number, right? And I'm thinking it's the office. So I called him about 2 weeks later, and his wife answers, oh well, yeah, I remember you. Look, I'll tell him that you called. He's on set. I was like, so where am I called? He goes, oh, this is the house. But that was way back then, So I'm thinking that I'm calling Pat Charbonnet, who was his manager. And at that point, he would have been doing Boys in the Hood. So that was very, very... Actually, maybe a little after that, because he didn't have the extreme curly perm. And the same thing happened with LL.
LL, Todd Smith.
Yeah, his wife just came out, I'm done. So, yeah, that was it. But that's the things that happen. I mean, God, my worst ever thing, my two worst interviews ever. Mob Deep.
Was me. I'm joking.
No, Mob Deep. Mob Deep. I didn't realise how young they were, because when you think about Shook Ones, it was like Shook Ones is foundation, and
of course.
And it's not foundation, but in the 90s, you're talking about one of the best hip hop records ever that still rings off to this day. Shook One's Part 2, by the way, not Shook One's Part 1. Even though Shook One's Part 1 is good, but Shook One's Part 2. We're sitting there, and this is in the days of 1/4-inch tape, and we're recording, and when we're talking, I didn't realise, because they're so young, they've got nothing to say. No, I'm saying. So I'm answering for them, and everything's no, I'm saying. No, I'm like, oh, God. So I remember taking up the tape, and I was like, cool. They left, and I threw the tape in the dustbin. I didn't even bother. I couldn't even be asked. Yeah. And then the other one was super embarrassing. So we had the word used to come on just before our show, and the chart was pre-recorded. So Max would package it up the night before, so it was all perfect. I think we might do a little part of it live. I think we did. Yeah, we did. So most of the time it was live, but the rundowns were, this to show how far back it was. It was on a cartridge. You pushed it in. Yeah. So we are in the studio. We are doing the chart. We never have anybody live. And I'm super confident. So I was like, do you know what? Tribe Called Quest are in with the word. When they finish, they're pre-recording for the following day. Tell them to come in, because their record's #1 anyway. So it was, can I kick it when the papes come? So we get them in, and they're sitting there. I think that was in the days when Jerobi wasn't in there, because, he came back later on. So they're sitting there. I think Max is sitting there, and then, Q-Tip, Fife, and Ali Shaheed are sitting there. And we're talking, and I'm trying to get to the #1, and I've realised I cannot remember the words when the papes come, and now it's getting worse and worse. So I'm like, okay, let me get the record, which is down by my foot. So the record's actually queued up, because you control it from the desk. But if I grab hold of the cover, I can, and I go to kick the cover, and just kind of drag it with my foot, and I kick it away from me. So now I'm like, oh my God. And I'm roll like this, and I'm like, and Alicia, he goes to me, you can't remember the name of the record, can you? Live on air. Oh, God. Yeah. Shit. But hey, memories.
Did you have a lot of those embarrassing moments where you couldn't
Nah, because, no.
Because everything is so fast moving. You got to be on it every 3 minutes.
Everything, remember, those days, you're not using a computer. Everything is about what you remember in here. I remember, so one of my good friends to this day, my friend Christine, she had just started working with Red Bull. So her first job with me was, she was trying to do a thing like a health rider. I think me and Chris Phillips got one, because we'd sold so many, because it was a kind of an auction thing. So she gave me one for free. We stayed in touch, and she said, I'm going to work for this new drink called Red Bull. Oh, okay. She comes in, she brings a case of it, and she's sitting there, and these two rappers are sitting there, and she's like, well, have some of this. So they start freestyling, and they bring in the words Red Bull. And she has no idea. She's sitting there with Spliff Star and Buster. No idea whatsoever. Because she went after, she said, who are they? I'm like, are you serious? But my friend was like, she's a pop head. Yeah. She's just into pop music. But to this day,
bro, how many of these stories have you got? Because you must have met everybody.
Up until about 1999, when Kiss was over for us, yeah. And even then, afterwards, I met Ludacris. When I was at Choice, Sean Paul. There's just so many of them.
What's the one story that you just think tops everything? There must be something.
Yeah, Chaka Khan.
Go on, tell us the story there.
So I always avoided, because she's my favourite singer, right? So I was like, no. And then my friend was taking her around, because it was for the song Disrespect, which was her and Mary. And he said, please interview her. So it was a pre-record. I was like, okay, look, I'm going to do it. But Chaka Khan doesn't know I'm a big Chaka Khan fan. So she walks in the studio. It was a pre-record, right? And as she walks in, I'm like, hi, blah, blah, blah. And then the first words I say is, welcome Marie Yvette Stevens. That's her real name. So when she's like, oh, so you know me. I'm like, so of course it was just a great interview.
When you said that, I thought he was gonna piss her off.
No. So it was the most incredible interview because I know things that she, but by the time we finished, she gave me an email address and asked me to send her, like, there's a version of Lady Madonna, which is the Beatles record, but Lenny White, who's a drummer, and her did a version because she does a lot of jazz stuff that, unless you're a Chaka Khan fan, you will never know that she does, right? So she's like, can you email me the record because I don't even have it. Yeah, so it was like that. And then I that same night I went to see her play at the O2, and probably maybe 10 years before that I'd been to New York for what, I don't know. So I was staying in Brooklyn, and I went to a little bodega, and I bought two albums. One was Ask Rufus. I can't remember what the other ones. They're cutouts, but of course I don't know where they got. These are albums that are probably worth a minimum of £50, and I bought them for $3 each. But they got the posters in them. So I was like, right, I'm going to save those until I meet her. 10 years later, or however long later, I meet her and I ask her to sign them. She does. And Tony Maiden, which is Tony Maiden, is a guitar player. This is the idiocy or the idiosyncrasies of knowing how I got to be a DJ was a memory thing. So let me give you the extreme of that. So at some point, I can tell you who the bass player is just from the sound. So if it's Stanley Clarke, if it's Marcus Miller or whatever, you can tell who the drummer is from the style and all that. So Chaka Khan's band, I know all of them. And all the people that changed. You know, her brother's Mark Stevens, who's a great singer and a bass player. Andre Fisher was her first drummer. He left and went to be the head of MCA, and so on and so forth. Tony Maiden, who was the guy who signed for me. All of that. That's how I got to be a DJ, from remembering rubbish. But eventually, it's not rubbish because that gets me in front of these people. But the other part of that is, remember, my early days of radio is hip hop. So hip hop is why I'm sitting in front of you. Hip hop is why I am the manager of a station in Antigua. Hip hop is the reason why I know about soca, because I know that to shut off here, even though I may not like a record, I might miss something. So you scroll through 20 records, but you're going to get that one gem. It's like Pete or Primo, buying our album, and you just need 2 seconds to make the song. And you think of them like Stakes is High by De La Soul and Ahmed Jamal. The sample on that, literally, it's a 9-minute record, and that thing happens 2 seconds. 2 seconds. But without it, it ain't it. Remember, and it's Dilla. It's like when you listen to the record, you're like, what? It's the same like with Tom Scott and They Reminisce. When you hear the record, that it's like the rest of the record, you're like, wow. Luckily, it's not a bad record, but some of these records are awful.
As someone who was in hip hop, I was always looking for the samples and everything. And what you said there, like, I mean, even if we look at, say, Amen Brother, or
Oh, right.
you just pull the right bits.
Yeah.
Not that the rest of the record is rubbish, but you look for the bit that's just going to stand out and hit everybody.
I always say this, right? And I'm going to say this so that our cameraman, Nick, is going to have to think when I say this. Crazy Love by Beyonce, right? One of the biggest records in the world ever. And you know what it doesn't have? It doesn't have a bass line. Think about it. There's no bass line in that record. All of that, the melody comes from the sample, which is by the Stylistics. The record's a horrible record. But the drummer, stroke Rich Harrison, he's a go-go drummer. So go-go is a lot of stabs and percussion. So he takes those and makes the record that when you hear the rest of the record, you're like, oh God, you know what I mean? But that is where the melody comes from. But you listen to the rest of the record, there is no bass line, none. And those are the gems that come. And now everybody's watching this is going, right, let me go find the record. There's got to be a bass line. No, there's no bass line. Dumb things like that make me and you have these conversations. You're sitting in a room with, I don't know, Trevor or whoever it was, Swing, and you start talking about certain parts of a record that you do or don't like or whatever. And that's what got me to where I am sitting in front of you
Yeah, of
right
course.
now.
And talking about obviously the hip hop thing. Actually, I'll come back to that in a second. But your memory is this with everything or just with music?
Mainly music. I mean, you can remember things, but my life is music, so those are the things that you remember. You know, I mean, God, I've just seen not this year, last year. I saw the most amazing concert in Antigua for free. I saw Marshall Montano, who's the Michael Jackson of soca, Wyclef, and Beres Hammond. Now, if you're a reggae fan and you get to see Beres Hammond for free, it's going to cost you about £60 to see Beres Hammond. Now, the three of them is probably, you're talking about £150 ticket, and I saw them for free because that's how it is in Antigua, things like that. Or the vendors, you buy all this stuff, but you get to walk in for free. The only thing you have to deal with is security.
Just going back to the Chaka Khan thing. You know, as a fan of music and artists, there's so much music out there. There's so much content and whatever that you end up soaking in the music up to a point where you just can't take anymore. Like you got to leave certain things behind, right? So obviously your job as a DJ, you can't really do that. You got to listen to as much as possible and all that kind of stuff. But how do you just kind of like take all of that in, but also manage to actually get the story, the backstory behind the artists? How do you get the time to do that?
Okay, so let me be very real with you. I don't know a lot about these things. So it sounds like I spend all my time listening to records. I do not. What happens is I might be somewhere and the record comes on and I don't know that it's a 3-year-old record. What I know is I like this record and I'll go to the DJ, can you email it to me? Yeah, I remember Goggle by Tony Stevens. It's a reggae record, but there's a version over Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. And I played for these guys. I forgot the name of the thing, but I played twice in New York. And I was listening to them live one night, and he played Goggle. At that point, I'd heard it, but I didn't know it was Tanya Stevens. And I said to the guy, I'm trying to remember his name. I see his face, can't remember his name. I think his name's Kevin. I said to him, can you email that to me? While he was DJing, the record was playing. He's great to often emailed it to me. I had the record before it finished playing. That's why I like technology. And I was in London, and he or wherever I was, and he's in America, in Manhattan.
Just touch a little bit more on the whole hip hop side of things, because that's obviously where I made the connection with you.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I mean, I knew Mastermind and all that, but I didn't know the members. I just knew them as a collective, right? Then you started doing the DJing at Kiss FM. You'd also done Invicta, Solar. What were the other radio stations you were on?
Yeah, Invicta's my very first one.
Right. And was that hip hop?
Oh, actually, it was. Well, it was a bit of everything. So Invicta, we got discovered by, in those days, a guy called Steve Devon, who was just the bee's knees.
Yep.
Right, incredible guy, incredible selector, and somehow, I don't know, I think he found us at Carnival. I think that's what it was, and he asked us to do a mix. So we did a mix, and everybody was fascinated because nobody had heard what we were doing. So we then got a show on a Sunday night, which was, I don't know, like 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning. So at that age, you don't care about sleep. You go home, sleep for an hour, wash your skin, and then you go to work, you know? And that was the start of us trying to be we're not even trying, we just became somebody without trying. I guess we were trying, but we weren't, because we didn't know what we were doing. You're just going, and it's not like now when you go, you're an entrepreneur. You're just going. That's it. You know, maybe you want a little bit of fame where you live. You like money, but you don't even know what those things mean. You just, because I spent all my money on records, I would spend every single penny I had on records. And then eventually, you know, Mastermind said, well, you buy the records for us. For instance, I remember one Carnival, because the biggest thing, Carnival, you know what records are going to smash Carnival every year. So I remember I go to Bluebird, Abby's there, he's playing a record as I've walked in, and some guy's going, yeah, I want this record. I'm like, no, you can't have that. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, Abby, I'm playing at Carnival, I need that. And he's looking, bruh, you don't know me, but I can tell you, you're not going to have that record, you know, because I was one buying all the records. So, you know, you go in with a stack like this, choose what you want, take back whatever you didn't. And that record was Rainforest by Paul Hardcastle. Of course, it was just a white label because it was their record. Abbey just happened to be playing it, and it was the last one they had left. It was a white label. The only other person I think who might have got one at the time was Steve Walsh. Yeah, because Steve lived across the road from Bluebird by the police station in the flats. I was like, yeah, of course, drop that record, Carnival, smash Carnival, smash Carnival. That is where I first saw the moonwalk. So Jeffrey Daniels came and danced by us. It was him and...
So that was before his appearance on Top of the Pops?
Yeah. This is Poppin' Pete, I think it was. No, Sugar Pop. So they got on the roof. Where we used to play was next to Ladbroke Grove Station, where the Sainsbury's is now. We used to set up right in front of the Sainsbury's, which eventually that became the Iron Bar. Then it became Sainsbury's. So we set up there. There was like a prefabs there, and it had a flat roof. So Jeffrey Daniels climbed up there. We played Planet Rock, and he was popping. And then he did the moonwalk. And it was like, when you're on the floor, all you can see is this. You can't see nothing else. People lost their minds. They lost, including me. We lost our minds, man. You know? And we got from there, I think we went into the Cage. Now, the Cage, I think we used to play with Rap Attack. Of late, people like different stories. I did an interview a couple of days ago with Westside Radio. So shout out to Gus and Rude. And it was just, they were talking about the things that happened. It's like all the memories that come. I remember one of the best things ever was Max he was a really good DJ. And what he did was he got the instrumental of Run DMC, Sucker MCs, and he put on Jocelyn Brown, somebody else's guy, and put the two of them together. And so that Carnival, that was the talk. That was the song. And not only did it work, but you see, the difference was with lots of mixes, unless you do them over and over, you can't necessarily do them over and over. You just do it on the fly. Max did it, and then he did it over again, and he made it up there. He didn't practice it. He just did it, as far as I remember. He just did it, and the crowd, it was like to the point where you can't actually hear how to mix because they're screaming so much, you know, because people can't believe what they're hearing, because at that point it's still new. Now, I mean, God, you look at Instagram, mashups, they're everything now, aren't they? You know?
So you've gone into all these radio stations, you're now playing hip-hop, and you're supporting a lot of artists that generally wouldn't get the support. You've created opportunities for people to have careers, myself included. Was that ever part of the plan, or you were just like...
Listen, you play records you like, and that's it.
And that's it.
You play records you like, because my philosophy was always, don't take money because... unless someone's going to give me £1 million to mess up my career, yeah, there's no point, and nobody ain't going to give you £1 million. The most they might give you is £200, and once you've done it, you ain't out of that. You're done, you know, because they'll always say that you did, even if you deny it. And I'm just not that kind of person. I don't care if I don't like your record, I ain't playing it, and that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. Unless there is a situation like a cultural situation in Antigua where I play a lot of records that I didn't grow up with. But I understand the cultural significance when you play them because you're out somewhere and you watch other DJs play those records and they grew up with that culture. So it's like UKG doesn't really mean anything to anybody else except us. You know, it's like bass records for a long time, but only Miami. You have to be in that situation. So, for instance, OPP, I was like, it's an all right record. But I went to New York the time it was out. So you've seen Wildstar.
Yeah, come on.
Right. So the guy that goes Z-U-L-U. Okay, that's Ike. I'm godfather to his first son.
Oh, wow.
So I go hanging out with him. We go to a rucker game. You know what a rucker game is?
No.
So a rucker game is like, it's that you bet money. It's a street ball, all this shelf style basketball. And we go uptown in Harlem and the record comes on and then I realize, I get it. Yeah. You know, I get it now.
So you have to be in the environment to get it.
Yeah.
But I got it straight away.
No, I didn't. But more than that, though, forget that. It's Fat Joe. I think it's Fat Joe's team against, it might have been Brand Nubians or something. Something happened and somebody threw a 40-ounce bottle onto the court. Next thing you hear, pop, pop, pop. And Nike goes, run! And we have to leg it to the train station to get out of it. Because not only are you trying to get away from who's shooting, but trying to get away before the police come.
Okay, so you were at Kiss FM from the very beginning, from Pirate days. You moved on to the thing. And then there came a point throughout all those years, you supported hip hop, and it wasn't just American hip hop. Let's get that clear. A lot of people, there was a whole heap of things going on with the artists saying that the DJs never supported us. You know, what's your view on that, first of all?
I think you can only know what you know. So if you're not listening to us, then you don't know. I mean, I think 279 probably played more UK stuff than we did. I just played stuff because I liked it. That's it. Me and Max, we had a 3-hour show. Was it a 3-hour show or was it a 2-hour show? 2 hours.
From what I remember, was 2 hours.
Okay, so in which case I played 45 minutes, he played 45 minutes, and the other half an hour was the chart, right? So as soon as the chart was over, it's usually me, and then it was Max at the end. And I never told him that I did or didn't want to support these records unless there was a political reason behind it, because whoever said, like, for instance, the crisscross situation. So the only thing we tried not to do was we tried not to play the same thing, just because we had a short amount of time. So if we both like the same record, but we'd make sure that everybody else, you play this, you play this. And we did that with quite a few records. So, like, can't remember if I told you the story of House of Pain.
No.
So House of Pain, Jump Around, was number one on the rap chart, number one for a long time. And you knew the record was a goer from off.
Massive,
but,
even to this day.
Yeah, but you think that's 30 years later. But here's the thing: when the record was dropping down the chart, it didn't have a UK release. It was like, this is unacceptable. So I said to Max, we're just going to keep playing the record until somebody picks it up. And that person who picked it up was Richard Russell at XL. And XL had Wiley, Dizzy Rascal, Adele. He even had Bobby Womack before Bobby Womack passed away. And then he, as a thank you, now it wasn't business minded, as a thank you, he said, he told Lindsay, who was the head of music, he said, ask Max and Dave what they're doing at the weekend. I said, I don't have a gig. He said, you got a passport? Yeah. All right, we're going to fly to our Ireland to hang out just as a thank you. So we went to Ireland for the night, and they paid for everything. But what I should have done was, like, I want a point, even half a point on that record. We've been laughing. But it wasn't business minded. Everything was about, I guess it was ego and the kudos of it. As opposed
to half a point for, can you just clarify for what?
So the points, you've got different things on records. Half point was literally a sell. So every time it sold, whatever the division was, if I say, like, I wanted a point, it could be a penny in the record sales. And so every time a record sold, and every time it played, I would get 1 pence, which doesn't sound a lot, but a record like that is going to get played all the time.
Right. But so what I'm saying is, why should you get that point? What did you do?
Just as support of the record.
Okay.
When nobody else did. And it doesn't mean that I should have. I just thought now, later on, I think we should have, because now people do that. There's people like Puffy who don't do anything on a record, but it's like it's his concept. A lot of the records that Puffy did, he concepted them, but they're not necessarily, he didn't do anything on them, but the concept.
Yeah, but that's different from a DJ playing the record, supporting it. DJ is there for a reason.
It's still, from a business point of view, I did something to make it go there. And it doesn't mean that I'm right, but it's a business decision, I think. So Puffy is right in a different way, and I'm right in a different way. And it doesn't mean that you should give me the money, but what I should have done was asked.
Yeah, but imagine if you did and you got it.
Yeah.
That's you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I would have said, well, give me a point for the next 10 years or something.
EMAP. If I just say the word EMAP.
It's corporate.
Right. So what happened there? Because that was the end
so
of...
EMAP are about, making money because you've got board members to please, etc., etc. I think EMAP were there from the off. It's now gone to, it might be Global or something, I can't remember. No, Bauer. It's Bauer. Right. So EMAP were there from the off. It's switched to Bauer. But EMAP came in and they wanted their money. Within 3 years, you could see they're chipping away at the underneath to build a new situation. And kudos to them, because they make it work. Remember, you don't have to like it. People go, it's not the same. It's not supposed to be the same. You build a different set of roots. You have hip hop as they know it. You have R&B as they know it, or whatever. Some records I like, some records I don't. 1 minute I like Doja Cat, then a minute I might want to hear Whitney Houston or Sia, whatever. So it's not. There's no right or wrong to any of that. It's business, and what you have to do for two things, for sanity and survival, is not take it personally. I never did. People used to, oh my God, you sold out and this, that. I was like, yeah, but it pays my mortgage. And what do you do? I remember a family member said to me, oh, you're working at night, you've got graveyard shift. And I said, and when I'm going home, you're going to work and I earn 3 times what you earn. So what are you saying? And it was silence. Listen, there is not any right thing or any one thing that I can say was the thing, right? But the cultural thing for me is hip hop. Hip hop is everything right now. Even if you are the hardest hardcore yard man, even if you're an emo, there's some part of hip hop in your lexicon. So it could be your sneakers, right? It could be your earrings. It could be your skinny jeans. And remember, nobody wore skinny jeans before that, it was like the Temptations or the Motown era. Then it's gone, it was all baggy. And then out comes Kanye. Skinny jeans came back because of Kanye. That I can remember. I could be wrong, but I believe it's Kanye. And he made everybody go to skinny jeans, So, yeah. For me, like, if we do the progression, because I did leave it apart when you were talking about the radio. So I've gone through Invicta, then it's Solar. Solar's a soul station, and we did a hip-hop show on there. We were somewhere in Brixton, I think. And me and Max used to do that on a Saturday night, and we'd leave straight from there and go straight to the Lyceum, which was absolutely packed. And I think one of the first nights we did with Grandmaster Flash. Flash was another one. We fell out with him because we wouldn't play his record when he was on the Electro. But dude, your records they were pants, man. What it is that certain rappers, you cannot transfer the way they rhyme. It's not going to work.
I think that's a good place to kind of say, just to differentiate between what happens at radio station where there's a producer telling you what to play, and then you as a specialist, you got a free reign. Mm-hmm. You had a free reign. Yeah. So you played stuff you actually liked, not what you were told by someone above you.
Yeah, at that point, Solo wasn't a legal station anyway, right? So we could do what we wanted. But just to clarify, right, you have broadcasters and you have DJs. A broadcaster, from my point of view, when I was at Choice, you get a bit of paper, and Kiss as well, for that matter. Once I started doing daytime, you get a piece of paper, and that covers the 3 hours, and it'll tell you literally minute by minute what to do. When I first started, it was a lot freer, so you got 3 choices. So you could try to make a record become a hit by fitting in a record that you were playing in the club. And then eventually you were down to 1 free choice, and then it was like no free choices. So, then you've got people telling you what to do. I remember being at Choice, and the head of marketing was trying to tell us that we need to play Lethal Be Power. I was like, are you crazy? You are at home with your child. So if she see, I'm not going to say her name, but if you see this, you know who I'm talking about, because you're a lovely lady, but you didn't go into the real world. Hence why there was nearly a lot of us got almost killed at a night, which I'll come back to in a second, right? Because there's no reality. You don't have a hip hop background. You don't have a club background. What you have is a numbers background. So you want these people to come, and so she was like, well, we need to be playing Lethal Be Power in daytime radio. No, you don't. First of all, it's ringing off in the club anyway, so it doesn't need our help. And secondly, have you seen what happens when you play that record? Even now at Carnival, I don't play that record. I want to play that record because I know what will happen, but it would literally have to be the last record of Carnival. You play that record in the middle of Carnival, Carnival's done. It's like Mike Tyson toying with somebody because you know he's going to knock them out because you need a show. Yeah? Mike Tyson knocks you down, you ain't getting back up. That Lethal B is a knockout record. I play that, riot, dance, done. So it would have to be my very last record at Carnival at maybe 5 to 7.
That's in the Carnival, but on radio station, people are at home. They're not going to start riots at home.
No,
what they're going to do, fight their mom and dad.
But it's familiarity, though. You're going to play the records, they're going to hear it over and over. What you play on radio, they want to hear in the club. Okay. And some records, I don't think, you shouldn't do that.
So was it a record that you actually liked?
Oh God, I love that record. And I got a version. I got a version with Little John and Buster on it as well.
Okay,
record just.
So you wanted to play it, but because of keeping things calm,
what it does, it makes people feel like they've just had a bag of cocaine. Yeah. You know what I mean? They just lose their minds. There's a lot of moshing going on. Speaking of moshing, so I remember head of music, right, my boy Lindsay, And let me be clear before I finish the story. He did come back and apologise. So I don't know if you ever watched Casey Kasem, right, back in the day. So Casey Kasem was a show that came on late night, ITV, yeah. Came on maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, but it would also show the American hit records that were coming along. And one of the records was Slam Bionics. Now, I thought the record was a big record before I saw the video. Once I saw the video, I was like, it's over. And we went to Lindsay. Well, I went to Lindsay. I said, mate, this record's it's out of here. He's like, nah, it's only for the hip hop.
So what was the difference between that and POW? Because it was similar vibes. They created similar vibes.
Nah, I think what it is the energy.
Yeah, but Slam had the energy as well.
But I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I just know the feeling. If I paid Slam, right, and I played POW, POW would still get the bigger forward. It would.
Is it because you're in the UK and you see the reaction like of the UK?
No, but I've seen people, slamming out to Slam. I've seen people body surfing and this and that, but it's not the same. I don't know why, but it's not the same. Okay. POW is it's 10 times bigger. But anyway, I go to Lindsay and I'm like, this record's out here. He's like, nah, it's only for the hip hop heads. I'm like, okay, when you see the video. And then he came back to me months later and said, listen, I've got to apologise. But people do get things wrong, I just, speaking of getting things wrong, nothing to do with hip hop, but I wanted to do my first major concert, and my friend was the road manager for this particular act. And they said, oh, you need X amount of money. I was like, I haven't got enough, so let me go in with another DJ. And the DJ said, nah, she can't fill nowhere. And that person was Tina Marie. I know, it was like, he came back and apologised to me later on. I was like, mate, I need you, give me half of the money and we, we'll sell out. But that was the last thing she ever did. So we didn't get the concert, somebody else did. But I did her last interview in England because they used to do the interviews. I think it's at Little Great Portland Street, where they used to go into the thing and you just roll him in one after the other. And I did an interview with her. Anyway, going back to the radio. So we've gone from Solar. I think some of the others did JFM. I didn't do JFM at all. And then from there, went to Kiss. Yeah, because the others did JFM and it was Kiss. So it was a long period in between. So that's what it felt like. Excuse me. So I decide I'm going to stick with radio and try and be a bit better at it. Now, let me be very clear. With radio, excuse me, when I was doing radio, right, I was a hip hop head who got the chance to have a voice. So my vernacular was a lot of hip hop. It's not going to fly. So I had to remind myself, and eventually I removed those things. And when I got onto Choice and was doing a daytime show, I had to level out what I was doing. So also I didn't practice as much as a DJ. I had gigs, but I just didn't practice as much as a DJ. But hip hop DJs have more skills than your average DJ. Because if you don't, people, I don't know about now, but in those days, people will bottle you, because they ain't trying to hear about no CDs and all that. Yeah. Now it's different, because when you watch Scratch Bastard, Primo, Puffy, all these people, they use Serato, but, they're on some next level. Yeah. But once again, across the board, hip hop, getting into the whole radio thing, hip hop made me reinvent myself, because this is the thing about hip hop. Hip hop is a reinvention all of the time, and if I didn't reinvent myself, you probably wouldn't know that we would have had a historical conversation. I probably wouldn't have a job in that. I would be doing something else. But what I didn't do was I never gave up on myself. So, right, what did you do wrong the last time? How can you do this and go forward? I know that I'm a blue sky thinker. So I don't know if you know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
So a blue sky thinker is, look at that couch. What can I do to change it? All right.
Just so we're clear, I wouldn't let you.
No. But the point is that I was going out with somebody who said, well, you're a blue sky thinker. She said, I don't get it. And I said, I didn't get it with her. She's like, she can do stuff if you give her the instructions. Whereas I'm like, I want to fix the couch and I don't need nobody to tell me how to fix the couch. What I'm not good at is the execution. So I realized that I need people like the stuff that I'm doing right now that I'm getting ready to do.
So you think someone else does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, right, this is what I want. And I work out where I want to get to, but I don't know how I'm going to get there, and I start going. And this is what happened. So my friend Christine that worked at Red Bull, she's just come back into my life to help me with what I'm doing. I've got an analyst who works with me. She literally thinks like that. All the stuff that you see online right now, with me playing with my son MCing, with me, I was playing with Gordon and John Jules from My Soul the other day. She's the one who takes the clips, and then she was the one who chops them up and puts them up for me. And she's like, Dave, look, right, the ones that you do get these amount of views, right? Look at the analytics of this now. Yesterday, I put it up. She put it up the day before. I took it. I tagged it. Within 20 minutes, we had 500 views. Because I don't know what I'm doing. She does. She's like, right, now do this, do this, do this. And all of a sudden, it's like, mate, you've got 800 views. Right, now do this, and so on and so forth. So it's like, right, I realize I'm doing the right thing by bringing other people in. Do not be selfish, right? And life is about service. You know, if you get it right, because there's a lot of people who live a quid pro quo life. I don't necessarily think that quid pro quo is the right way to go, but if you're quid pro quo with service, for me, I'll do something to help you, but I'm strategic about it, because some people have asked me to help them and I've gone all out, and then they go, oh yeah, but we're not ready, but I just need information. No, because remember, when you've got no money, all you've got is your credibility. So now I ask people, how far are you along and what do you need? And then I'll help you when you're further along, you know, or not at all. I'm definitely on that Drake, no new friends. I'm here because I know you. If you were somebody that didn't know me and asked me to do this, I probably wouldn't do it. Or I would have to look at your history before I decide to do it. Yeah. Everybody around me is people that I know.
And you know the work ethic. You were there. You saw what we did on the street level. And I saw the same with you.
My thing is, the biggest thing right now is self-awareness. Yeah. You've got to get to that point where you know that that person pisses you off. So why are you in their company? Don't curse them out. So you know, excuse me, for instance, somebody, I can take 10 minutes of them. Cool. So you take 10 minutes of them. Don't curse them, because you know you made a choice to talk to them. Yeah? Or I know that this person, their red shoes gets on my nerves. So, okay, maybe I won't talk to them. Or this person, I like being around them because we can go further. Whatever it is, make a choice. Try not to speak negatively into the air, you know, because
coming back at you,
because we speak what we shall see. You know, you speak it and it will come out. You know, so biggest thing for me, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? Always, yeah.
Simple answer, isn't it?
I got to that because I have an elderly mum, and dealing with her, you had to get to certain things, you know. So once I got into that, it was cool. And it's, remember something, the things that go right or wrong, as long as it's in your control, it is or isn't your fault. It's not the other person's fault. One of the biggest things that people do, everybody does it, but whether or not you've got self-awareness. She gets on my nerves. No. She makes you think that she gets on your nerves. That's how it works. That's not what you're supposed to. It's like, do you know what? I don't really want to be around her. That's it. Forget that, because now you've got that. You're letting that person live in your head rent free. Get rid of that. Don't think badly about them. What can you get? Do you know what? What is it that is getting on your nerves about them? Is it, flip it around, is it something that they do that you used to do? Or whatever. The observation will move you forward. That's what I do now. So you try not to waste too much time on the negative part. It's like, we know this ain't working for us. Let's go.
Earlier I mentioned Shorty Blitz, and you know you put him on pretty much according to him.
Yeah, me and Max.
You know, yeah. So do you remember that?
Here's the crazy thing. He used to go to school with my brother.
Okay.
And I didn't know that at the time. So it was Jay. Shout out to my girl Jay, who's like a good friend to this day. So Jay said, because we had Pogo, then he went off on tour. Then we had Business, he went off on tour. So she's like, well, why don't you try Shorty? At that time, I think Shorty was doing house parties. Right? It was like, okay, cool. So it was him and Ted, Chubby Kids. Speaking of which, shout out to Ted, who's not a chubby kid. Have you seen him?
Probably a couple of years back.
He's lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he has.
A lot of weight.
He is.
So but yeah, we put Shorty in position, and he's been great at it ever since. Him and MK. So MK, I didn't even realise I used to teach MK to swim when I was a swimming teacher because we both come from the same era. But he went to school with not my brother that's 2 years younger than me, but the one who's like below that. In fact, no, sorry, my youngest brother. Yeah, because he's the same age as yeah. So my youngest brother, he is now a headmaster, and they all went to school together in the Grove area. Shorty, I remember Shorty called me and he said, Dave, listen, they've offered me your show. I was like, cool, take it. So listen, you're a nice guy and you're a good DJ. It's business, bruh. Don't worry about it. I mean, you're good. In fact, I'm meeting him either tomorrow or the day after for dinner. Because we did a gig together weekend gone. You know, just catch up.
It was good to get the stories that we got from him here. It was deep, you know. Yeah. So yeah, there's someone that I think has pretty much like yourself championed a lot of us. You know, so it's nice to see that he's getting the love back nowadays as well. But it's nice to know that that's where it began.
Yeah, you know. Like I said, it was Jay. Jay turned us on to, and then we went and did, you know, whatever. So
you and Max. Do you want to talk about that?
I can tell you that first of all, I'm never going to say anything that he's not here to defend himself with, because I have my ideas, he has his ideas. But I could put it like this: we've spoken maybe 3 times in 30 years. Our lives are very different now. I wish everybody, including him, all the best with their lives. But it's like, you know, it was like a marriage, you know. I did think at one point maybe I should go and get him, because I'm not an MC, and I'm like, and he was the person who was the MC, really. Should I go and get him when I got to choice? And then I thought about something that had happened. I was like, this isn't going to work. You're just going to have to learn to do it yourself, or you find other MCs or whatever. So yeah.
I really want to talk about what you're doing these days. So you're still carrying on DJing.
Yep, still
but there's other things you're doing.
Okay, so the DJ wise, so I every day I live in Antigua until such time things change. Because my dad passed, couldn't leave my mum, and I got lucky. My cousin said to me, "Oh, there's a new station opening up," so I went for the job, and the woman said to me, "Well, can you send me your CV?" She saw my CV, and when I walked in, she said, "Right, I've seen your CV. What show do you want?" Just like that. I was like, "Okay." And I started doing a lunchtime show to show you how close it is to my house. When the guy, sorry, not lunchtime, morning, so it was 10 till 12. The guy who was on before me would play his last record, and I'd drive from my house to the studio and the record would still be playing. That's how close. It's like a 6-minute record. So she left, because I did 2 years of that. She left, and I put myself forward for the manager, and I've become the manager. Whether or not I'll stay there, I don't know, because it's hard work. Because when you're talking about working with people culturally who's different, and also some people don't have the same amount of passion. Remember, let me be clear about this, right? Even if I didn't get paid, I would still do it. That's just what it is, you know? So I've got that show Monday to Friday, 11 till 1 on a station called WTP.
What's that stand for?
We the People. So it's actually owned by a politician.
Okay.
Right. He's one of the most powerful people on the island. Right. And a lot of the politicians there have their own stations. So that's the situation. And then we do. I mean, we've started to do other things. So we've started to look for because I'm the manager. My thought process is, right, I want a certain level of broadcaster. So I've just brought Martin J on, who used to be at Choice. I've got Natty B. He does the reggae chart. So we have that reggae chart. But what I'm looking for is the marriage of the UK and Antigua. So his chart now says My Soul and WTP. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm just about to do a deal with another radio station to get some of their shows from the UK, because my thing is to try to expose the situation. And the reason being is because Antigua is very small. We're 108 square miles, and I think it's about 90,000 people. You know, it was 100,000, but I think we're diminishing as people pass away, leave, etc., etc. So it's a goldfish bowl, and what I'm trying to do is bring money from outside, because when people come, they leave, but you've spent your money. So I have a plan, and that plan starts with getting a certain type of broadcaster to go with the really good shows that we already have. We've got some really, really good shows. One of our really good shows is a sports show that we have every other day with one of my mates there, Adrian, who's also the #1 volleyball player on the island, who's also a very good DJ. Yeah, and then we've got Virus, who is he's like Jazzy Jeff level, seriously, as a DJ. So there's all of that. I work on UK 246, which is in Barbados. Got a 1 hour mix show there. So my brand is called I Love Music. So I have 2 other shows. So Chris Washington, who I've known for ages, he used to work, I think he worked at Atlantic, and that's how I've known him. And then DJ Quest, who's from Canada. And so the 3 of us do every Wednesday. So literally one hour mix each. And then I have My Soul. So I missed out on the investing in Kiss, but I decided I wanted to invest in My Soul. So I've got shares in that. And I did have a show where I think it's still Mondays, and then it kind of changed and whatever you. And eventually, it was like, so I've got a show 4 till 7 on a Sunday morning, so 4 a.m. till 7 a.m. just before John Jules. But what I do with that is I repost it. Like, especially I've got good shows. Like one of the biggest shows I ever had on there was Fab Five Freddy, because everybody wants to hear what Fab Five Freddy's got to say. Who's as old? He's older than me, and he's into technology and all sorts of things. It's just incredible, you know. So that's my radio situation. Now, my other things, I have a thing called Grown and Sexy, which was a holiday. We did some ages ago. I was with somebody that fizzled out. It stopped. I came back to Antigua because we do it in Antigua. I was trying to do it again, and then COVID came, and that was it. I got completely wiped out, But a friend of mine said, well, yeah, you're luckier than most. You can start again, and you can call well-known people to do things for you. I was like, okay. So I've done 2 events in Antigua. We're literally negotiating right now, including with Jay Davison, who's now an atoll bonded travel agent. So she's doing all the negotiating with the hotel. As like literally at the end of this week, I'm going to finish trying to do the negotiating, because we've got an event coming up 2026 in June, and it'll be the same thing again at a high-end hotel. But I've got 2 really big name DJs who've already said yes to me to come. And yeah, there's that. And then the other thing which I'm trying to develop, not trying, we'll get there. So it's Masters of the Airwaves, the Rise and Rise of Underground Radio. So, anybody's heard me talk about the book, as I said earlier on, it starts at the beginning with Invicta. We goes all the way till my time ends at Kiss.
Do you want to give a quick plug to the book?
Well, here's the thing with the book, right? We only have, I don't think we've got 20 copies left. But I just found, I thought we didn't have any left. But it turns out my dude Gurge has some for me in Birmingham. So I'm going to bring them back down, and I'm going to leave them with West Side Radio, which is in West London. They're going to sell them off for me. Right, so the book, The Rise and Rise of Underground Radio, it's called Masters of the Airwaves, The Rise and Rise of Underground Radio. And if you want to know stuff about Trevor Nelson, David Rodigan, Fat Freddie M, all these people are in the book, Norman J, all of them are in the book, and we should have finished the book way before, when Lindsay's like, we've got to finish. And I just did that. Let me just try this one more thing. Sent a message to Gordon Mack. He sent a message out to Judge Jules, and Judge Jules messaged me within 10 minutes and said, yeah, sure, I'll be in the book. So yeah, he was the last person we got in the book. Now I want to do another version of that, and that version of that book is going to be culture. So the first one was like the beginnings of radio for us in the UK. Now it's the culture in the UK. So drum and bass, UKG, Lovers Rock. I'm going to try to highlight some more females who have done their thing. I mean, my old boss, Lorna Clark, was the boss at Kiss, who's now the head of Radio 1. You know what I mean? So, and Lorna still speaks to me every now and again. There's people I call for advice. My job, I've asked her, I've asked Gordon Mack, my job, because there's things like, how do you deal with somebody who's always late? How do you deal with an insubordinate? I remember Gordon said to me, well, always be firm, but never be rude, because you don't know what these people are going to be further on down the line. So the book, once there's that going on, but also I'm going to do a teaching module. So I'm actually going to be teaching, and it's just going to be online. If you want me or the other teachers, you have to pay me a premium to sit in front of you. But I'm teaching radio, podcasting, and let's be clear, podcasting is just a sexy way of saying pre-recorded radio, because that's all it is, right? Except for you might be filmed. And then a little bit of DJing. So teaching somebody things that I know for DJing. So I'm going to give you something for free. I'm on 3 stations, right? I do not do 3 mixes. I do 1 mix, I record it, and then I revoice it. That's it. And so I'm hi Barbados, hi Antigua, hey UK. But it's the same mix. But there's a technique to making sure that there's certain things go, and I've got hundreds of those mixes, and I delete some of them every couple of years, because when I listen to them, I thought they were good at the time. You realize they're not, because you get better, or at least be self-critical, you know? So there's that. And so the thing that's happened with that, one of the reasons why I'm here is I'm going to see my old university lecturer, because we're talking about doing exchanges with UK and Antigua, excuse me, and same thing has happened with Dubai, same thing has happened with Bahrain, same thing has happened with St. Kitts. They're all interested. So I'm trying to make those deals to do student exchanges, and also bring up the level of broadcasting and make it even better for the younger people. Because no matter what, there's not a lot of money in it, but I've got to do my part on the planet. What I know, you know, whatever you know, just when your time ends, it's like, what did you contribute to the planet, you know? And that contribution is service. Service means it doesn't cost anything. It's great if you get money from it, because as I said before, I would DJ for free. But when it comes to this thing called broadcasting, you know, there's things that go with it that some people just don't know. Just pass it on.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to get involved with that? You know, is there like a website where people can connect with you and go live with you and all that kind of stuff?
That I had to pull down and start all over again. So right now you can get me on my Instagram, on DavyJ1. So if you look for the picture with me and Lionel Richie, get on my Facebook. I think Lionel Richie's on that as well. Yeah, because they're connected. And then you can email me at mydjlife81@gmail.com. Eventually, I will reintroduce my site, but it's got to be changed now, because these days it's all about e-commerce. So I need to put that on there. So yeah.
We had this conversation about 2 years ago, and you basically emailed me. We spoke on the phone, and you were telling me about this coming into fruition. So how far down the line is it now?
The book, nothing, because I changed it so many times.
Okay.
Because I've set up interviews and this, that, and the other, and then I realised, no, I'm literally stagnant if I don't do the culture thing. So I'm not going to go back to talking to DJs. Some people will be mad, but there's usually bedroom DJs are going to be mad. You know what I mean? This is, let's be clear, I want it to be, it's not just about money. I want it to go to as many people as possible. So you have to go to certain people to get that spread. So it will be what it's going to be. And my thing is, right, if I want to do drum and bass, who do I know? Open up, right, I know Jumping Jack Frost. I know Bailey. You know what I mean? And then through them, they might go, okay, well, do you know what? I will get you Crust or somebody, right? Same with the radio. Gordon, you know, I say, right, Gordon, you're in the book. We spoke about this. This time I want you to answer, how does it feel to change things culturally? Because Kiss changed everything culturally, you know, in terms of Europe, because there was no dance music station like it. Now everybody's the same. Finding out about the reggae thing, because Lovers Rock comes from the UK, but the story behind it is that the Jamaicans weren't having it, you know, so they created their own scene. Here's the funny thing: listening now to American artists with UK accents, you know, that means we've come into our own.
Yeah.
You know,
Gone full circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to be them; they want to be us.
Same with the grime thing. You know, there can be that crossover of it is hip hop, it isn't hip hop. I don't really care. What I like about it is that they've actually found a way to do business and grow.
But is there any final words? Anything you want to say?
It has been amazing doing this, sir, because, I think this is the first time I've actually talked that fully, but it's because the prep was good. I mean, there's only one other interview I think I can remember that's ever been this good. Right? And I did it a few days ago. But that's because you know people. So if you're doing this, try your best to find out as much as you can before you talk. It's like me when I said Chaka Khan. It was an easy interview because I had enough information.
That's, bro.
And also, let the person talk. Learn to listen. If you learn to listen, you can listen to learn. Also, don't be Nori. Don't be Nori on Drink Champs.
What? Yeah, just jump in every...
But he's got like so many stories, I get it.
Yeah.
But, the greatest storyteller in hip-hop, only one person, Fat Joe.
But, bro, thank you very much for being here. For everybody else, you heard it here directly from the man himself. This guy, opened up so many doors for so many people over the years. He wasn't just your regular DJ. He was someone who actually gave a shit about the artist. I've had conversations with him behind closed doors where no one was listening, and the passion. That's why I wanted to get him in here to talk, because I feel like this is a guy that actually cares about the artist, cares about what he does, and that passion has never been lost. Never. You can hear it. The interviews, it's here. Okay? So I appreciate you being here, bro. 3 years in the talking,
Yeah.
and finally got here. But that's because you live in Antigua and it's a bitch to get you here.
I'll be back. I'll be back. Right now I'm looking to come back once or twice a year.
All right, perfect. But if you ever got any stories extra you want to add, you're always welcome. So, yeah.
No, thank you, sir.
All right, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Click the bell to receive the notifications. Like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. And show Davey J some love. This guy, like I said already, did a lot for us. Let's show him that we actually appreciate what he did for us. All right, thanks again for watching, and I'll speak to you next time when we film again with someone else.